We are going to start reading Meet Your Strawman. I don't know if y'all can hear me. I hope you can. This is the book that we're reading. And then we're going to watch a video. The first video is only 30 minutes long. So, that's what we're doing. And it's fun here. Hold on. Go live. Comments. And I guess we could do, hold on, I gotta first see how long the first chapter is. It's a short book, so we should be done by Friday for real. All right, so Meet Your Strawman. So we're going to do up to page We could do up. I don't know. My spirit's saying we could stop at 17. The bookkeeping. So I'm going to read an excerpt, and then you read the next excerpt. We're going to go back and forth in the reading, okay? So, let's have a little quiz. There's a picture of the state capitol building. It's a picture of the state capitol building. Oh, man. I think I'm too close to the camera. State capitol building picture, right? See the state capitol building picture? All right, here go the quiz. Here goes some questions. Hey, Mr. Capone, who meets here? What do they do there? And do they help you in any way? What's your answers to those questions?
Who's there?
Mm-hmm.
I would believe it's executive, judicial, and then legislative.
So the government.
Yeah.
Okay. What do they do?
Well, there's judicial, which is for I guess they really just judge. Executive is really just executing the laws, which is like police force.
Mm-hmm.
If army counts too. And then legislative is pretty much presidency.
Okay. So, do they help you in any way? That's the third question.
No.
So, if your answers were 1, members of the government, 2, they represent all the people living in the country, and 3, yes, they create laws to protect me and my family, then let me congratulate you on getting every one of those answers wrong. Didn't do too well in that quiz? Okay, let's have another quiz. When was slavery abolished?
It's not.
Was slavery legal?
No.
And are you
Actually,
in debt? Huh? You said yeah, right? And are you in debt to a financial institution?
I would believe yes, for what we learned last time.
So here are the answers to the first set of questions of who meets there, what do they do there, and do they help you anyway. Number 1 is they are the serving officers of a commercial corporation. Number 2, they think of ways to make money and take goods from you. Number 3, no, absolutely not. They help themselves and not you. Now, for the second group of questions that says, when was slavery abolished? Was it legal? And are you in debt to a financial institution? The answers to those questions are slavery has never been abolished, and you yourself are considered to be a slave right now. Yes, slavery is legal, although it is not lawful, and you should discover the difference between legal and lawful. And 6, you are not in debt to any financial institution. Does this seem a little strange to you? If it does, then read on. Those in power have a big secret. Paying tax is optional. Registering a vehicle is optional. Paying a fine is optional. And attending a court is optional. If you can if you want to, but you don't have to. And if you're surprised, well, try this on for size. Every mortgage and loan is fully repaid from day one. You could pay it again if you want to, but you don't have to. If nobody has told you that you have a straw man, then this could be a very interesting experience for you. Your straw man was created when you were very young, far too young to know anything about it. But then it was meant to be a secret, as its purpose is to swindle you, and it has been used very effectively to do just that ever since. Perhaps it is about time that you learned about your strong man and how you can stop it being used against you. Knowing about it is the most important first step. You need to go on a journey of discovery, and I'm afraid that what you are about to discover is not very pleasant. However, if you decide to act on what you learn, it could change your life for the better. If you think that you are in debt, then you can get out of it if you are willing to stand up for your rights and refuse to be swindled any longer. Interested? If so, then let's start at the beginning and find out where your straw man came from and why you should care about it. It all started when your parents had a happy event and you entered the world. You don't know exactly when that was because you were not aware of the days of the week, the months of the year, or even what year it was. Even after some months had gone by, you still were not aware of these things, but by the time your strong man had already been created and it was being used to make some very unscrupulous people rich. None of this was your fault. It happened because your parents were fooled into thinking that they needed to register your birth and get a birth certificate for you. Um, so they applied for a birth certificate, not understanding what would happen if they did. Well, then, what did happen? According to local authority, they lost ownership of their baby, which is you, and they allowed a straw man to be created. This is not something which they can be blamed for, as nobody told them it would or even could happen. Nor did anybody tell your parents what a straw man is or how it could be used against their baby. In actual fact, the registration is now a contract, which is in reality null and void because there was no full disclosure by local authority, nor was there intent to contract on part of your parents. Peace, peace, y'all. Welcome to the book reader reading How to Meet Your Strong Man. The registering of a baby's birth passes ownership of the baby to local authority, and that alone allows the local authority to take the child away from the parents if they ever want to do that. This applies until the child reaches the age of maturity set by the current legal statutes. Doing that is not lawful, but after the birth has been registered, it is legal, and there is a world of difference between those two terms, a difference which it is very important that you come to clearly understand. Could you read So What is a Straw Man? And then I'll read the next one.
A strawman is a fictitious legal entity created within the hope that, as the child grows up, he will
How
be
you doing,
fooled
holistic?
into believing that he is actually the strawman, which he is most definitely not, and pay all sorts of imaginary costs and liabilities which get attached to the strawman by con artists.
Thank you.
How is a strawman created? While the mechanisms involves the unnecessary birth certificate, which the parents imagine is about and belongs to their baby, neither of which is actually true. If the baby has been named James and the family's name is Martin, then you would expect the birth certificate to have the names James Martin imprinted on it. If that is what is imprinted on it, then all is well, and it is a genuine certificate and nothing more. However, if another name is there, then the document is not a birth certificate. Instead, it's a creation of a strongman masquerading as James Martin. The alternative
I
entries
appreciate you.
might
Thank you.
be the following
I try my best.
examples:
My son
James
is about to
Martin
turn
in
18,
all
so
caps,
we're
or
spending
Mr. James Martin,
the next month countdown to
or
his
Martin
18
Mr. James,
to show him
or
how to move
anything
like a
else which
sovereign
is
being.
not James Martin and nothing else. Why create a straw man? The answer is in order to charge the straw man imaginary costs and penalties and fool the human James Martin into paying these amounts. These imaginary charges include income tax, council tax, inheritance tax, capital gains tax, road tax, import tax, value added tax, fuel levy, loan interest, bank
Definitely
charges, and
start him
anything
early.
else that full time professionals can think of, and are confident that you will not notice that you have never agreed to pay and don't need to.
Noise. Legalese. Legalese is a secret language invented to trick you. It uses English words but attaches secret meaning to those words with the sole intention of stopping you from believing that what they are saying to you has nothing to do with the normal meaning in the English language. Their purpose is to cheat you and rob you. For example, they will ask you, "Do you understand?" In English, that means, "Do you comprehend what I'm saying to you?" And the automatic response will be yes, meaning I do comprehend what you're saying to me. But these sneaky underhand people have changed the meaning in legalese to mean do you stand under me? Meaning, do you grant me the authority over you so that you have to obey whatever I tell you to do? What makes it even worse is the fact that they will never tell you that they have switched from English to legalese. And if that is not dishonest, underhand, and unscrupulous, then I don't know what is. If you answer the question believing that English is being spoken, then they pretend that you are contracting with them to become subordinate to them. Whether or not that is actually true is debatable because that is effectively a verbal contract between you and them. And for any contract to be valid, there has to be full and open disclosure of all the terms of the contract and then unreserved acceptance by both parties. And in these cases, that has most definitely not occurred. But what is the point in all this? Well, this maneuver is intended to trick you into agreeing to represent your strawman. Why? That's a good question. But to answer it takes a bit of explaining, and you need to understand the overall situation. All humans are born equal with complete freedom of choice and action. And if you live in the same place as a lot of other people, then there are a few restrictions which have grown up by common consent over time. These restrictions are for your protection. Hey, King. How you doing, love? These restrictions are for your protection and the protection of other people living near you. These restrictions are called law, or more accurately, common law, and they are few in number and very easy to understand. They are: one, you must not injure or kill anyone; two, you must not steal or damage things owned by somebody else; three, you must be honest in your dealings and not swindle anybody. Oh, thank you. These restrictions have resulted from hundreds of years of disputes which have been dealt with through using common sense and opinions of ordinary people. They're the only limitations on you, and if you don't want to abide by them, then you need to go to some isolated place, stay away from other people. We're reading the How to Meet Your Strawman book. So for the next 30 days, we are concentrating on our nationality and our sovereignty and how to conduct ourselves. So I have these three books, and then I have this book that we're reading this week, and then we have these other two books, the UCC Code and the Bailiff, and then also this book teaching you about the history of the credit bureaus and how to outsmart them. And then after we get done reading out the book, I'm going to play a video. So this video is like it's a 30-day class, and every day we're going to play one video after we get done reading. So if you want to stick around after we get done reading this excerpt, start the video, and that's day one. All right. So many people think that there are hundreds of other laws which they have to keep and new ones every other day, but that is not so. Those other things are called statutes, and keeping them are optional for you, but they are not optional for your fictitious straw man. And that is why people who benefit from those things want to persuade you to represent your straw man and so become subject to all of their invented restrictions and charges. If you knew that they were optional, would you agree to: one, give most of your earnings away in taxes and similar charges; two, pay to own a vehicle; three, pay to own a television set; four, pay to drive on roads which were built with your money; five, be forced to join the armed forces if you were told to; six, send an army which is supposed to represent you into another country to murder innocent people. Were you ever told that these things are optional? If you agree to represent your strongman, then these things become binding to you. These are some of the statutes which politicians keep inventing in order to make you poor, make them and their friends rich, and keep you in a position where you have to do everything they say, no matter how much that harms you, and does away with your natural freedom rights. But, says somebody, we elect the government to represent us, and so we have to do what they say. After all, they have our best interest at heart, don't they? Well, that's a nice thought, but is it actually true? No, it isn't. If you think you elect politicians to represent you in your government, that is not what you actually do. That is part of a very carefully fostered illusion intended to keep you in your place and giving most of your earnings away, typically 80% of all you earn. Part of the secret is that what is supposed to be your government is actually a privately owned for-profit company, and all that you do when voting is to help choose the serving officers inside that company. It would never make the slightest difference to what happens in its future of the company, and policy and actions are controlled by the owners of the company, and they are not influenced in any way whatsoever by what you want. Think this is far-fetched? Then check it out. You can go on Duns and Bradstreet and look up and look up the United States, or look up the state you live in, like state of New Jersey, state of whatever, whatever. And it does have a DMV number that'll take you to an EIN that will show you that it is a private for profit company. This is not a government. So you check it out via Dun and Bradstreet or any other place which records the setting up and performance of 160 million commercial companies worldwide. When you do that, you will discover, for example, that the United States is a commercial for-profit company. So now I want you to read United States Corporation is a private company, and um, you can read it to the bottom of this page, or when you're ready to stop. Yeah, you can look up the state of Maryland, and it's on Dun and Bradstreet.
The United States Corporation is a private company. The non-federal Federal Reserve Bank is a private company set up in the year 1913. As its every court and every police force and even Congress is a company and not a person. Just in case you are not aware of it, the purpose of any commercial not-for-profit company or corporation is to make money for its owners and shareholders if there are any. The people who think of as the government do not do anything that earns money. They instead take money from you, and their main job is to make sure you don't realize that they're in the same position as IBM, which takes away millions of your money every year. So why are all the pretense of there being a genuine government which you elect and who serves you?
How you doing?
They don't want you to understand that they are just running a company which produces nothing of any worth. Something like a betting shop, where almost every customer loses money and wake up with the fact that unlike what you have been told all your life, this is all optional, and you don't need to play the rip-off game any longer unless you want to. They want you to be burdened down without paying them money and working so hard and so long that you don't have the time, money, or energy to stop and think about what's happening to you and your family. They are so desperate to stop you from just walking away from their scam that they make every effort to connect with you, the fiction which is your straw man, because fictitious entities like commercial companies can't have any dealing with a real man or a real woman. They can only deal with another fiction like your strong man. And it is essential that they fool you into believing that you haven't have to act on behalf of your strong man, which you don't. They have a number of well-proven methods of distracting you and keeping you from finding out. They want you to see a great deal of entertainment, not because there is anything wrong with entertainment, but while you are being entertained, you will not be asking awkward questions. Also, they are very careful in that entertainment reinforces their make-believe world and makes it appear to be the real world, where everyone is under the government. Police officers uphold the law, and taxes are essential in order to keep things going. And things which are said to be bad for you are taxed heavily, not to make money, but supposedly to encourage you to avoid those things. You will notice that they keep saying that their invented statutes are the law,
Okay.
but if they do say it often enough, people start believing it and never think to question what they say. They will also have another very effective technique, and that is fear. They want you to be afraid of imaginary terrorists, afraid of disasters, afraid of new diseases, afraid of foreign countries, and afraid of the economy doing badly and inflation rising. If you doubt this, then take a look at the news and count the number of positive, uplifting news items and the number of negative or depressing news items. It doesn't take much in the way of research to see that every heavy negative bias is in the news. The reason behind this is to make you feel that you need a government and an army to protect you from those dangers. It is easy to keep the news items biased that way because of all the major news agencies and media outlets in the world are owned by 5 or 6 privately owned commercial companies. So to supposedly connect you to the straw man which they created for you when your birth was registered, they use the legalese technique of conning you with the name of the strong man. If you are ill-advised enough to go to a court, which is a corporate place of business, as the accused, you will be asked to confirm your name. quoting the full name shown on your birth certificate, which is the legal personality. Titles such as Mr., Doctor, Rev, Gov, Sec, or whatever are not asked for as they are not required. The accused is actually the legal personality, which is the name on the birth certificate. So when they ask for the person's name, they are talking to the legal personality, the strong man. The strong man. I don't know why they said it's strong. And
Hmm.
not to the human. This is because a human cannot exist in the legal world. Only
Hey, old
pieces
block,
of the
what's up
paper
with you?
can. And that is something which they are very careful
Yeah.
not to tell you. This is a real key issue. Natural law and common law are the only laws which apply to humans, and they deal with harming other people or causing them loss. And outside of those restrictions, a human is free, an unlimited entitlement to do anything they wish to choose, which complies within those principles. As opposed to this, acts of Congress, statutes, and statutory instrument contracts do not apply to the human, but only to the piece of paper, which is the legal personality, which has no reality. As the legal fiction, the legal personality was created by the company called the United States Corporation. That company gets to say what the rights and duties for that piece of paper are. When a person is born in America, the mother and father submit a birth certificate registration form, which is a piece of paper. There is no requirement under common law to do this. When any limited company or corporation is set up, there is always a certificate of registration in order to create its legal personality, and that is a piece of paper. Please note that an American birth certificate states quite clearly that it is not evidence of identity, meaning that it has nothing to do with any human. Marked on it is U.S. copyright, showing clearly that it does not belong to an individual and was created by the state. This act of registering a child makes that child a ward of the court, and the child can be taken away from the parents at any time. The legalese definitions of words which sound commonplace can be found in the Black Laws Dictionary, and the current edition is the eighth. But when was this?
Hmm.
The current dictionary being the eighth.
The eighth Black Law Dictionary. You want to know what year that is?
Yeah,
Okay, hold on, let's find
that
out.
was which books actually gave out dates to when they were made? I kind of missed that on the back.
They usually. Oh, you talking about that book? When was that book published?
Yes.
Oh, you should be able to see it on the back. Or in the front. Oh, that's odd. Hmm. Oh, 2023. That might be when this was printed. Yeah, I see August 2023. But I feel like it's older than that because I've been seeing this book a lot more. That's probably when it was printed, so I don't really know. Because I saw the Meet Your Strawman video years ago. Okay.
So there's probably
Hey,
new Black
I didn't
Law
even see you down
Dictionary.
there. But if you be right back, I see you master wasted. Peace, love. Go ahead.
Interestingly, in legalese, you, the human, are defined as a monster, which shows exactly what the people who use legalese think of you.
Okay, I'm sorry to cut your wisdom, but the eighth Black's Law Dictionary was published June 1st, 2004.
Hmm,
All right, go ahead.
probably got 8 more now.
Mm-hmm.
Charming people, aren't they? Another trick they try to play on you is to imply that a summons is something that you must obey, while in fact, it is only an invitation. So it tends to their place of business.
Okay, so this book was published October 2nd, 2013. So it's been 11 years.
They are not inviting you, the man or woman, but instead they are inviting the legal personality to their place of business. And please note that there is a choice, and it is only an invitation. The legal personality is just a piece of paper, a birth certificate created by the commercial company called the United States Corporation, and it is not the human. You can't be forced into a contract, so they have to deceive you into entering one without understanding what you're doing. They are using deception as every judge's court is a trading name of the commercial company called the Department of Justice, which does not have a parent company listed, meaning that it is a parent company itself. Legal people, on being shown this company registration, respond by realizing that if this information is genuine, which it is, then the U.S. has been lawless for more than 100 years because the whole justice system is being dealt with by a commercial company. Going to court in connection with any civil action is a very bad idea, as the only function of a court is to judge between two parties who disagree and then penalize the loser. Penalize, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The court doesn't care who wins or who loses, and the objective of the court is to make a profit for its owners, as it is a commercial enterprise and its purpose is to require money from anybody who's foolish enough to attend. If you look at the summons, which is really an invitation to go to court, you will see that it is not in your name, but in the name of the straw man that they are hoping to fool you with it to represent it.
Nice. Dealing with debt. Because of the very high percentage of money earned being taken away from the average person, it is not unusual for people to end up with what looks like debt. Most people spend their time worrying over the statement of what they are told they owe and do endless calculations to see if they agree with the numbers which they have been sent. Again, this is sort of misdirection which magicians use to fool audiences, distracting their attention away from where the action is really taking place. Here, the question is really not how much is owed, but instead is anything actually owed. You need to remember that any financial get off that your eyes won't be the same, baby. What? The strawman theory? What you talking about, Moses? Um, Most people spend their time worrying over the statement of what they are told they owe and do endless calculations to see if they agree with the numbers which have been sent. Again, this is sort of misdirection which magicians use to fool audiences, distracting their attention away from where the action is really taking place. Here, the question is really not how much is owed, but instead is anything actually owed. You need to remember that any financial institution is a legal fiction and does not actually exist. As a result of this, it can only deal with other legal fictions, essentially other pieces of paper, and it cannot have any dealings with a man or a woman as they are not legal fictions. It is also important to understand what passes for money nowadays. Let's say our trusty friend James Martin goes looking for a loan and he fills out an application form with the Swindle Bank Inc. for $10,000. Interestingly, the form which he is asked to sign says that he's already received the $10,000, although the loan has not yet been approved. Did Supreme talk to you about my advice? No. The next day, the loan is approved and James is handed a check which he is asked to sign and deposit to his account with the bank. We won't follow up on that very interesting procedure at this time, but please remember that he has now provided two signatures for the $10,000 in the strawman name, and all he has received is a 1 and 4 zeros in the account of the Swindle Bank. All goes well for 7 months until James loses his job and does not manage to get another one. This is financial trouble for which he does not know how to deal with. Time goes by and James has not had sufficient money to make payments against his loan from the Swindle Bank. He starts getting letters from the bank saying that he must pay the arrears immediately to keep up with the payments in the future. There is not the slightest chance of that happening, as James does not have the money and he does not know what to do. Fortunately, Peter, the next door neighbor of James, happens to be an independent financial advisor with years of experience, and James has had the idea of asking him for help. Peter is willing to help, so he sits down and goes through all the paperwork. Okay, we can talk later. That's okay. Then he tells James, you must not ignore the situation. Write back immediately and say that you agree to pay any financial obligation which you might lawfully owe on the condition that they provide 1, validation of the debt, that is the actual accounting. 2, verification of their claim against you, that is a signed invoice. 3, a copy of the contract binding both parties, you and them, in a letter by certified mail so that there is an independent witness to having it delivered. Every letter you write should be marked clearly without prejudice, which means that you reserve all your lawful rights and you accept no contract unless it is shown to be lawfully by meeting the 4 essential conditions to a law binding contract, namely, 1 is full disclosure. You were not told that you were actually creating the credit with your wet ink signature. 2, equal consideration. They brought nothing of value to the table, so they had nothing to lose. 3, lawful terms and conditions. Yours were based on fraud. 4, the wet ink signatures of both parties. Corporations can't sign because they have no right or mind to contract, since they are soulless legal fictions. And furthermore, no third party can sign a contract on their behalf. Peter then tells James that agreeing to pay, provided that if evidence of a lawful debt can be produced, stops him from being taken to court because courts can only adjudicate between 2 parties who are in dispute. And as James has agreed to pay, there is no dispute. So the court will not accept any application for a hearing. If the swindle bank were foolish enough to try, James has only to send the court a copy of his letter agreeing to pay, and the case will be thrown out immediately, and the bank might well be penalized for wasting the court's time. The bank is now in trouble as it's been running a con game on James, so can't produce the documents for which James has asked. The request by James was reasonable in every aspect. However, a loan agreement is a contract, so there has to be full disclosure of all the details, which there wasn't. Both sides have to put up some type of equal worth, which didn't happen. And the contract has to be signed in wet ink by both parties, which the bank can't do. So the bank has a real problem. The bank will probably send a statement of what it wants James to believe is the outstanding amount. James should return this with a polite note saying that a statement is not an invoice. So would they please provide a signed invoice as requested? They will also probably send a photocopy of his loan application form, at which point James should write back and point out politely that it does not constitute a contract as it is only signed by one of the parties, himself. And he has asked for a copy of the contract signed by both parties. The bank is likely to go silent at this point and stop corresponding with James. James should then write again requesting that the necessary documents be sent to him within the next 14 or perhaps 28 days. And if that does not happen, then he will consider the debt to be fully discharged. The bank will either remain silent or write back and say that the debt is fully discharged. If the bank tries phoning, then just tell them politely that you only wish to deal with this matter in writing and hang up. If the bank remains silent for that stated period of time, then James should write back stating that due to the bank's failure to respond, the necessary evidence of a lawful debt within the reasonable period of time provided, that James now considers that the debt is fully discharged and asks that the bank confirm that in writing. The bank will normally write back confirming that the debt is fully discharged and that there is nothing owing, and if it does not do that, it will just stop asking for any further payments. The reasons for how and why this takes place takes a good deal of explaining, and many people find it difficult to understand. So it is covered in detail on the following pages here. Many people think that this process sounds like you're ripping off the bank, but this definitely is not the case. So, can you read What is Money? Hey Roy, how you doing, love? We are reading about Meeting Your Strawman.
What is money? Originally in England, the unit of money was called £1 sterling. That was because it was literally sterling silver weighing £1, as it was quite difficult to carry several pounds weight of currency around with you. It was arranged that the actual silver could be held in the bank, and a promissory note, which was essentially a receipt for the deposit for each pound of silver on deposit, was issued. It was much easier to carry these banknotes
y'all. We're
around
reading
and
about
to do
Meeting Your
business with them.
Strawman. Right now, we're
If you
learning
wanted
about what
to,
is
you
money.
could always take these notes to a bank and ask them for them to be cashed, and the bank would hand you the equivalent weight of sterling silver in exchange for the notes. Today, the currency in America is banknotes, which are certainly easier to carry around than metal coins, but there's one very important difference. These notes are issued by the private company called the Federal Reserve Bank, which is as good a name for a company as any other. However, if you were to take one of their banknotes to a branch of that company and ask for it to be cashed, all they would give you is another note with the same numbers of credits printed on it, and alternatively, other notes with smaller
Um,
numbers printed on
I
them.
am reading Meet Your Strawman. We're helping my son claim his nationality. Go
This
ahead.
is because, unlike the original banknotes, there is nothing of any physical value backing up the banknotes of today. They are only materially worth the physical paper on which they are printed. It actually gets worse
Thank
than
you.
that, which
What
happens
you up to?
most commonly nowadays, is that they do not even bother printing these pieces of paper. Now they just tap some numbers on a computer record, or the old fashioned enough, they write the numbers into a ledger by hand. What do those numbers represent? Nothing at all, and they have no actual value. In other words, just as much value as if you type them into your own computer, quite meaningless. And yet, a bank or other financial institution will merely lend you those numbers in return for years of your work, plus interest charges. Now, isn't that really generous of them? Actually, this is not at all funny, because if you don't keep paying them money earned by your very real work, they will attempt to take your house and possessions away from you. This won't happen if you understand that they lent you was actually valueless. Take the case of Jerome Daly of Minnesota in America. In court, Jerome challenged the right of the bank to foreclose on his home, which has been purchased with a loan from the bank. Jerome argued that any mortgage contract required that both parties, that is, himself and the bank, put up a legitimate form of property for the exchange. In legal language, this is called a legitimate consideration put forward by both parties to the contract. Jerome explained that the money was in fact not the property of the bank, but has been created out of nothing as soon as the loan agreement was signed. That is, money does not come out of the bank's existing assets, as the bank is simply inventing it. And in reality, the bank is putting up nothing of its own, except for a fictional liability on paper. As the court case progressed, the president of the bank, Mr. Morgan, took the stand and that admitted that the bank, in combination with a privately owned commercial company called the Federal Reserve Bank, created the entire amount of the loan in credit in its own books by means of a book keeping entry.
Hey,
The
Tyler.
money and credit coming into existence when they created it. Further, Mr. Morgan admitted that no United States law or statutes existed which gives him the right to do this. A lawful consideration must exist and must be tendered to support the loan agreement. The jury found that there had been no lawful consideration put forward by the bank. So the court rejected the bank's application for foreclosure, and Jerome Daly kept his home debt free. That is exactly the situation with all American mortgages. When someone makes an application for a mortgage or any other loan, the application signature is required on the application form before the loan is approved. The signature on that signed application makes it a valuable piece of paper which the bank can deposit its account as a credit to the bank for the amount of the loan. The bank will just keep that application form and stay ahead by 100,000 or whatever, and then they want more, much more. They want the borrower to pay them that same amount again, funding it by years of labor,
The
and
sound is
not only the
crazy.
amount of the supposed loan, but
Is that good?
significant extra amount in interest as well.
Thank you for letting me know.
Why do you think that they are so keen to lend you money? They will even willing to lend people who know credit score, as there is no way that the bank doesn't want the deal, no matter what happens. This is why if a company starts demanding payment of large sums of money, you start by asking them to provide the accounting for the deal. In other words, you're asking
Is
them
that
to
better?
show in writing that they provided something of genuine worth as their side of the loan contract, as they invented the money as numbers in their books with no real worth attached to those numbers. They are in deep trouble, as they can't comply with your demand to see the accounting for the deal. Did you ever wonder how the average bank manages to make hundreds of millions of dollars profit every year? Well, you were looking at it.
Is that better?
A large chunk of it comes from
No.
the bookkeeping.
It got worse.
What happened?
Nah, keep going. They're saying the sound is crazy. Keep going. You can keep reading.
All right.
I'm figuring it out.
This next part of the information may be a little difficult to understand. When any business is being run, the accounts are recorded as money coming in and money going out. For a bank, the money coming in is called a credit, and money going out is called a debit. The objective is that these two amounts always match each other, balance for any customer. Not everything done in banking is immediately obvious to the average person, so it may be a little difficult to understand how
It's so
everything works
bad.
in this area. If you have an account with a bank and you deposit $200 to the open account, the bank enters that in its books as a credit. The credit on your account is $200, and your debit is now totaled to zero. So the balance has a positive or a credit value of 200. If you were to withdraw like 300, then the bank would record this as a debit of 300. When the credit balance on your account is 200, the balance on your account would be 100 in debit. That is overdrawn by 100. If you were to deposit a further 100 and then close your account, the bank would not have any problem, other than the fact that they would like to keep you on as a customer. As far as the accounting goes, your account is
What
balanced
about now?
and the bank is
I did
satisfied
have
with
a
the
fan.
state of affairs. 300 has come in and 300 has gone out. Books balance, case closed. Now, if you were able to apply for a loan, mortgage or otherwise, and decided to, for say $100,000 from the bank, they would give you an application form which is set out in such a way that you will have to fill in the straw man's name rather than your own. Separate boxes with one of them containing Mr. And they may even require you to fill the form in using block capital letters. You may think that the capital letters are so that they can read your writing or perhaps make it easier for it to be entered into a computer. But the name in those capital letters belongs to the strong man. The straw man, not you. And you have actually just made an application on behalf of the strong man and not yourself. You might wonder why they would want to do this. After all, what could they ever get from the straw man? Well, you might be surprised. When the straw man was incorporated, they assigned a large monetary value to it, possibly $100 million, and they have been trading on the stock market on behalf of the straw man ever since. And you know how many years that has been. So very surprisingly, in their opinion, the little fellow is very rich. And you have just authorized them to take the amount from your loan application from the strawman's account. So before the bank passes you any money, it has already gotten its money from the strawman account and entered it into the books as 100,000 credits to your loan account. Then they place the 1,000 into your loan account as a debit. Interestingly, that loan account is now balanced and could easily be closed off as a completed deal. This is where the sneaky part comes in. So the money out of your account, you have to write and sign a check of 100,000 on that account. What does the bank do with checks which you sign? It assigns them to the account as an asset of the bank, and suddenly the bank is ahead by 100,000 because the check is in the name of the strawman who can supply the bank without with almost any amount of money. But it doesn't end there. As the bank is confident that you know so little about what's going on that you will pay them anything up to 100,000 over the years against what you are believe you owe them. If that happens, then they have made yet another 100,000 for the bank. To make things even better for them, they want you to pay them interest on the money which you don't actually owe them. Overall, they make a great deal of money when you borrowed from them. So perhaps you can see now why banks make hundreds of dollars a year. If the loan were used to buy property, Then the bank probably insisted that you assign the title deeds to them as collateral for the loan. As soon as the property deal closed was completed, if you then fail to keep paying them, they are likely to attempt to foreclose on the loan and sell your property quickly for an even greater profit. And to add insult to injury, if the property sale did not exceed the amount of the loan plus the charges for selling it, then they are likely to claim that you owe them the difference. Perhaps you can see now why Jerome Dallaire told them to go take a running jump at themselves, and why your request for the accounting for any loan made to you puts the bank in an impossible situation. If the bank then just writes and tells you that the debt is fully discharged, they still have made a massive profit on the operation. And they also hope that the vast majority of their customers will not catch on to the fact that they are paying far too much for their property, or even that there is a straw man involved. Please don't feel that you're roofing off the banks if you don't pay them what they are asking you to pay. They have already recovered every paid out before you start paying them for the second or third time. When it is a mortgage, entire process is very much the same. The debt-free sovereign website, http, forgot those three symbols, www.freewebs.com/debt-free sovereign, gives a very clear description of this process in Canada, and the process is much the same everywhere else. They describe a typical property sale and mortgage this way. The buyer goes to Magic Bank in response to the bank's claim, and that is in the business of lending money in accordance with its corporate charter. The buyer went to the bank believing that Magic Bank had the asset money to lend, and Magic Bank never tells its customers the truth. It doesn't have any money to lend, or that Magic Bank is not permitted to use those depositors' money to lend it to borrowers. Not without standing. The fact that Magic Bank does not have Magic Bank makes the buyer or borrower signed a mortgage loan application form, which is essentially promissory note saying that the buyer borrower promises to pay Magic Bank for the money. What money? Which he is supposed to receive from Magic Bank even before any value or consideration is received by the buyer or borrower from Magic Bank. This promissory note is a valuable consideration, a receivable, and therefore an asset transferred from the buyer to the bank, which Magic Bank enters as its own asset as a cash deposit. After making sure that the buyer has the ability to pay the required monthly payments, the buyer has credit. Magic Bank agrees to lend the buyer the cash to pay the seller. Magic Bank has no money to lend it, gave the buyer promise to lend money by way of a commitment letter, loan approval letter, loan authorization, or loan confirmation letter, etc., signed by a bank official or loan mortgage officer employed by Magic Bank. Magic Bank's acceptance of the buyer's promissory notes makes the bank liable to the buyer borrower for the full face value of the promissory note, which is the agreed purchase price of the property, plus any cash deposit or down payment money paid by the buyer directly to the seller. It is important to note at this point that all real estate transactions require that the property being sold must be conveyed by the seller to the buyer, free of all liens and encumbrances, which means that all liens, such as existing mortgages, judgments, etc., must be paid before the property can be mortgaged by the buyer as collateral to the mortgage loan, which is yet to be received by the buyers pursuant to the promise made by Magic Bank. How can the seller pay off his mortgage and obtain clear title if he has not yet received any money from the buyer? And how can the buyer mortgage a property that does not yet belong to him? This dilemma is solved by using Magic Bank's magic bag of tricks. Magic Bank, in consort with the bank's lawyers or notaries, causes all the liens and encumbrances to magically disappear by writing a magic bank check backed by the buyer's promissory notes and the agreement of purchase and sale, deposited into the lawyer's trust account to pay the seller for the property at closing. In essence, using the buyer's promissory note as the cash to enable the agreement of purchase and sale. So the buyer's promissory note made the conveyance possible. Magic Bank caused the property to be conveyed from the seller to the buyer title free with with title free and clear of all encumbrances and liens. The property now belongs to the buyer, which makes it possible for the buyer to mortgage his property to Magic Bank. The buyer actually paid for the property using his own promissory note. At this point, the seller has not yet received any money or cash, so the Magic Bank and its magicians must perform one more magic in order to satisfy the seller's requirements that he get paid, or the whole deal is null and void.
What?
The seller does not even know that the property has been magically conveyed to the buyer's name in order for the seller to receive any money. The ensuing magic trick is accomplished this way. The buyer is made to sign another promissory note. The mortgage contract is attached to the promissory note.
Promissory.
Promissory. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I kept on butchering that.
A note of promise.
Promissory note, which makes the buyer liable to pay Magic Bank for the money or the loan which the buyer has not yet never received for up to like 25 years or more, depending on the term of the mortgage contract. This note is linked to the collateral through the mortgage contract, and as such, it is valuable to Magic Bank. Magic Bank then goes to the Federal Reserve Bank or to another bank to pledge the deal, and they have just gotten from the buyer for credit. The Federal Reserve Bank then gives Magic Bank the credits. Remember, it is not Magic Bank's credit, it is the buyer's credit who promised to pay Magic Bank if when the money is received by the buyer from Magic Bank, payable for up to 25 years or more. Note, what happened above is basically a swap transaction. All banks do to monetize security. In this case, the second promissory note that is linked to the mortgage contract and signed by the buyer is mortgage-backed security. Magic Bank will then agree to pay the Federal Reserve Bank a certain percentage of interest over prime. Thus, the buyer's loan package goes to the Federal Reserve Bank, which credits Magic Bank with the full amount of credit, which is the total amount of the money Magic Bank is entitled to receive after 25 years, which is the promise to pay to Magic Bank for 25 years or more, which is usually 3 times the amount of money promised by Magic Bank to the buyer. Magic Bank just enriched itself and got paid in advance without using or risking any of its own money. Magic Bank's magician, the lawyer who holds the check that is backed by the buyer's original promissory note, then writes a check to the seller as payment for the property. In effect, the buyer paid the seller with his own money by virtue of the fact that it was the buyer's own money, the promissory note, that made the purchase and sale possible. Magic Banks has just made a cool 300% profits without using or risking any capital of its own. Neither has there any depositor's money deducted from Magic Bank's asset account in this transaction. What really happened was pure deception. And if we, the people, tried to do this, we would end up in prison, being found guilty of fraud and criminal conversion, not to mention that the property would have been seized by the court. This is only a crime if we, the people, do it to each other, as it would be indictable crime if we issued a check with no funds. There would not be any deal, no purchase and sale agreement, because there is no valuable consideration. In order to decriminalize the transaction, we need Magic Bank and their cohorts to make the deal happen. It is really a conspiracy of sorts, but these persons, the banks, the lawyers, the land title offices, or even the courts do not consider the transaction as fraudulent transaction because these transactions happen all the time. Such a contract is void ab initio, or void from the beginning, which means that the contract never took place in the first place. Moreover, the good faith and fair dealing requirement through full disclosure is non existent, which further voids the contract. Magic Bank failed to disclose to the buyer that it will not be giving the buyer any valuable consideration, taking interest back as additional benefit to unjust enrich the corporation. The Magic Bank also failed to disclose how much profit they were going to make on the deal. Magic Bank led the buyer to believe that the money going to the seller would be coming from its own asset account. They lied because they knew, or ought to have known, that their own book or ledger would show that Magic Bank does not have any money to lend, and that the records will show that no such loan transaction ever took place. Their own book will show that there would be no debts from Magic Bank's asset account at all, and all that would show up are two entries made by the buyer. Gave Magic Bank the first collateral or the promissory note, which enabled Magic Bank to cut a check, which made it possible to convey the property from seller to buyer, free and clear of all liens and encumbrances, as required by the government by the agreement of purchase and sale entered into writing between the buyer and the seller. What really happened was not magic. In reality, the buyer's promissory note was used by Magic Bank and its magicians, the lawyers, land title clerks, to convey free title to the buyer from the seller. So why do we need the mortgage contract at all? The other entry that would show up when we audit Magic Bank's accounts is the other pledge of collateral, including the buyer's promissory note, which was converted unlawfully and without disclosure or permission from the buyer into a mortgage-backed security, which was swapped or deposited by Magic Bank to the Federal Reserve Bank, for which another deposit was entered into Magic Bank's transaction account. From the above, we can enlist all the criminal acts perpetrated by Magic Bank. Number one, mortgage contract was void ab initio because Magic Bank lied and never intended to lend a single cent of their own asset or depositor's money to the buyer. And two, a valid contract must have lawful or valuable consideration. The contract failed for anticipated breach. Magic Bank never planned to give the buyer any valuable consideration. Number three, Magic Bank breached all its fiduciary duties to the buyer and is therefore guilty of criminal breach of trust by failing in its good faith requirement. Number four, Magic Bank concealed the fact from the buyer that it would be using the buyer's promissory notes first to clear all the liens and encumbrances in order to convey clear title to the buyer, and then use the second promissory note to obtain more money from the Federal Reserve Bank or other institutions that buy and sell mortgage-backed security. Magic Bank received up to 3 times the amount of money required to purchase the property and kept the proceeds to itself without telling the buyer. Number five, Magic Bank violated its corporate charter by lending credit or nothing at all to the buyer and then charging interest on this make-believe loan. Banks are only licensed to lend their own money, not other people's. Magic Banks used the buyer's money, promissory note, to clear the title, which essentially purchased the property from the seller. This transaction is an ultra-virus transaction because Magic Bank has engaged in a contract outside of its lawful mandate In ultraviaries, the contract is void or voidable because it is non-existent in law. And then, number 6. Everyone involved in this undertaking with Magic Bank, starting with the loan or mortgage officer, the lawyers, the land title office, and even the central bank, are equally guilty by association by aiding and abetting Magic Bank in its commission of its crimes against the buyer and the people who would eventually have to absorb all of the loss through increased taxes, etc. In the final analysis, Magic Bank and the others who profited from the ultravirus transaction are all guilty of unjust enrichment and fraud, for deceiving the buyer and the people, and for acting in cohort in this joint endeavor to deceive the buyer.
Thank you. We are going to pause here. We're going to start the video. So we paused on page, yeah, you went way past. We're going to pause on page 25. So we got to go over debt and money and overall idea what the strawman is and the concept behind it and how the banks utilize strawman information. So I'm going to play this video. This is day 1. You can subscribe to this video on onestupidfuck.com. Type that. This will probably be like my 4th, 5th time watching at least the first like 20 videos, and this is where you get subscribed. So.
Okay, welcome to my course. This is a free course, and it's everything you need to know about citizenship, taxation, your status as an American, what it means, etc., 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 etc. This is the intro video. I don't want to make this super boring or long, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. There's some things you need to know about this course in order to go through this course. So let's just start off and get right into it. If you want to know more about me, too bad. I'm one stupid fuck, and my name is Brandon-Joe Williams. So that's pretty much all you need to know about me. And then you can go to www.onestupidfuck.com. Basically, all the videos in this course are based off of my state national theory page, which is all text-based. It's about the size of a book. And a lot of this course, or pretty much all of this course, is going to be built based off of that information. I also have a state national resources section on my website as well with links, documents, definitions, quotes, case law, etc. So you're more than welcome to go on there. Check that out as well. But let's just go through some of the basic points that you need to know in order to even go through this course without going insane. Okay. So first and foremost, this course is going to piss you off probably more than you've ever been pissed off in your entire life. And I mean, literally to the point where, you're going to probably have horrible, horrible things going through your mind as you're going through this course, because you're going to be so emotionally upset and angry. And right away, right out the gate, I want to be super ultra clear. Please don't do anything rash. Don't, revenge and the idea of revenge and that kind of thing. It's so like not helpful. It's so ineffective. It's just terrible. Revenge. Now they want revenge for your revenge. It's like, human relations is a situation where we have a tendency to just go back and forth until like everything under the sun, moon, and stars has been wiped away. And that's not really my point of this whole course. Okay. I am the founder of what's called the Amnesty Coalition. Okay. The word coalition means a temporary group made up of people who may not be very similar, who may be very, very different, who are coming together temporarily to fight a common cause or a common enemy. Amnesty, the word amnesty means that you're basically forgiving people. It's sort of more of a legal or military term used to describe dude, if you did this, if you did that, whatever, Like, let's all just put our fucking guns down and move on with our lives. That is where I'm at with all of this. And I really don't want this course to create some kind of militia type situation or some kind of horrific blowback, vengeful type situation. I don't condone that. I don't support it. I don't want to see it. I will frown on any of that. And I am the founder of the Amnesty Coalition, and that is what I'm going to be doing with all of this information. Education is the key. Educate your friends, educate your family. There is going to be fear. There is going to be anger, mitigate it. We're going to be going into trust law a lot, and trust law is the basis of basically everything. And the basis of that basis is the fact that when you tear someone else down, they're going to turn around and tear somebody else down. There is a ripple effect. There is a lot of this kind of thing. So just don't get into that. And it's going to be hard because this course is going to, I'll bet you'll never, ever have been so angry in your entire life. And you may never be as angry ever again as you are going to be during this course. And there's nothing I can do to mitigate that. All I can do is just say, look, have your anger, just, use it in effective ways, use it and try to transmute it, so to speak, coming from a Napoleon Hill kind of quote. If you can transmute and transform that anger and that frustration into something else, it's good, because if you don't, the snowball effect of doing that could very well be devastating to the whole human race. There's going to be a lot of people mad. So that is my opinion on that. Okay. Number 2.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Fung. I talk a lot about intermittent fasting and how much benefit.
I don't give a shit if you're confused. This whole thing is confusing. It's meant to be confusing. You are going to be confused. You may have to go through this shit 150 times. This course is going to be free. I have no obligation to you. I'm not doing this because I'm trying to repay a debt or something bad that I did or something like that. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I may answer your questions. I may not. That's up front. And if you don't get the course, if you don't understand it, watch the course again, go read some books, go on my resources section, go on my theory section, go on other people's websites, do whatever you have to do to handle your own confusions. Your confusions are not my problem. Don't make them my problem. You don't pay me. Now, with that said, if you do want to pay me some astronomically high sum of money in order for me to handle your confusions, I'd be more than happy to entertain any offer like that. And when I say astronomical, I mean tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars. So if you would like to do that, please, by all means, send me an email, send me a message on my website, onestupidfuck.com, O-N-E spelled out, not the number. Please give me an offer on how I can best handle your confusions, and I will personally coach you through all this for some absolutely asinine amount of money. So I'm more than willing to do that. Please send me your offer. Okay, number 3. Again, I am for hire. I'm giving away all this shit for free, so I don't care. I'm not going to hold your dick. But if you do want to offer some kind of very, very wild sum of money for me to help you personally, I'd be more than happy to do that. So if you do need that assistance, you're more than welcome to send me a message. You're more than welcome to comment on any of my stuff or send me a message on social media. I may or may not respond, but massive sums of money. Yeah, sure. Okay. I'll entertain it. So be more than welcome to do that. All right. Number 4, everything on this course is legal. It's going to emotionally feel extremely illegal, and it's going to be very, very upsetting. And you're going to be like, oh my God, all of this seems illegal. This is completely insane. What is this? I shouldn't even be viewing this, blah, blah, blah. So that is basically, so there's 2 words. There's the word legal, and then there's the word lawful. Okay. So the word legal means in accordance with statute. Statute is basically laws that apply only to a specific group of people. You can also say the word policy, but it's generally known as statute. Okay. So If you work at a bank, let's say Bank of America, there's a statute on how someone at a Bank of America would act or dress or act in public, etc. And you being a part of that group, you are bound to those statutes, okay? Whereas law, like common law, okay, that's more the common laws handed down by God, or that all humankind, all mankind, all have to follow or should follow, etc. So you have legal, which is statute, which is involving specific groups of people or specific sections, and then you have lawful. Okay, now everything I'm going to be going over in this course is going to be described in these two different ways. We have lawful and we have legal, and I'm going to break them all down. Now, everything in this course is completely legal and completely lawful, okay? And I'm going to explain to you exactly why. Now, if you don't understand something in this course, don't do it. If you don't get how it could be legal or lawful, don't take actions. Any actions you take are completely on you. I was studying this stuff for maybe 7 months before I took even one single solitary action. So if it takes you a year, if it takes you a month, I know some guys who were filing affidavits day one, which is cool. That's not me. That was cool. So very, 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 very important. This is going to feel so wrong, so illegal, so fucked up. And you have to allow yourself emotionally to get through that. I'm not saying you have to jump into action. I'm just saying you have to continue to look, continue to clear up words and definitions and dictionaries, continue to immerse yourself in this before you're going to realize exactly how it works. Now, how can something be legal and lawful? So I'm going to, almost everything in this course that I'm going to be teaching you is basically you are contracted into groups that have particular statutes that you aren't even aware of. Okay. Now, when you learn, it's like your vision's all just muddy. Okay. And what's going to happen is that you're going to learn, and I'm going to open up everything for you. And you're going to learn that, oh my God, I'm contracted over here. Oh my God, I'm contracted over here. And you're going to see what it is you're contracted to. Okay. Now, the way that you keep everything legal and lawful is as soon as you find out where you're contracted to, you don't go crazy and start taking any action until you've severed the contract and pulled yourself out of that connection. So once you pull yourself out of a particular connection, let me give you an example, a driver's license. Okay. So with a driver's license, you're contracted into all sorts of shit that you had no clue. Okay. So, but there's a way to change your driver's license in a way that pulls you out of all of those contracts. There's a whole bunch of them and you have no clue what they are. And they fuck up your life like you wouldn't believe. So what I'm going to be teaching you is that if you just calmly and quietly find the contract, extract yourself from the contract all the way to completion, not halfway, but you're like, okay, there I am. I'm going to extract myself from that. Done. Once you hit that point and you've extracted yourself from that particular contract, now you're no longer in the legal zone of being underneath the statute. You're now outside of that statute. So I'm actually going to draw this. This is so important as part of this. So let's say, for example, okay, a marriage. Okay, marriage, which I hate spelling. I almost always spell it wrong. So if I do, then whatever, fuck you. So you have a marriage, okay? Now, in a marriage, which I'm going to get into a lot later in the course, so you have a marriage license, okay? Now, there's an aspect of the marriage license that actually marries you to the state. Okay, so you have husband. For this purposes, I'm just going to use husband and wife because I don't give a fuck. Wife, okay, and state. And the state is right here in the middle. Now, there's a way that you can actually eliminate the state entirely. Now, because you're married into the state, there are statutes that you don't realize that you're connected into, okay? So once you remove the state from your marriage license, you also remove all the statutes. Now you're legal and lawful. So legal and lawful are very strange, unique terms, because in order to be legal and lawful, you basically either legal if you're inside this system, okay, and you have the state married into your marriage. The only way to be legal is to follow all of the statutes. And sometimes these statutes, as you guys probably know, is like books and books and books and books. It's all bullshit. They just make it up. So to be legal when you're in the system, it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? And they change it on you and you don't know. And it's like, oh my God, and all this stuff. So what I'm going to be teaching you in the course is basically how to, you just extract yourself from that system entirely. And those statutes, they no longer apply to you at all. So what happens at that point, you're now legal and you're lawful. And that's the basis of this entire course. Okay. And when you find out the different contracts that you're connected to that you weren't aware of, that's the part you're going to get very, very fucking pissed off. So again, I recommend calm, quiet extraction. Once you've found every single fucking contract in your entire existence and you extract yourself from every single one, I would say probably at that point would be a smart place to start doing actions and start to do other things and maybe start to reach out more and that kind of thing. But you really want to get your own house in order before you start doing something like that. Like, for example, me, here I am making a free course when all I've been doing for months now is just correcting all of my own contracts. And pretty much all of my contracts, I'm working on a couple last ones right now that are really advanced, but all my contracts are done. They're all gone. So I am completely outside of the system. I am completely outside of all the statutes you can possibly even imagine. I know my rights. I know case law. I know all this stuff. I can talk the talk. I can walk the walk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to teach all of this to you as much as I can and as simple as I can. Just keep in mind, again, and I'm going to repeat these things over and over again because they are so important. Number one, don't get pissed off and freak out. You're going to want to. Don't do it. Two, it's not illegal. It's not unlawful. And I'll try as hard as I can to break down each point and why that is as we go so that you can see that as we go. But I don't ever recommend anything illegal or unlawful because you make yourself a target at that point. And it's just totally unnecessary. Doing something illegal and unlawful is so unnecessary. And I'm going to show you why. There's literally no reason why you do it. It's actually stupid. You just sever the contract. You find the contract, you sever it. There's nothing illegal about that. Nothing unlawful about that. It's totally normal. There's actually complete sets of laws. I'm going to show you guys breakdowns of government agencies, and they tell you straight up how to break the contract. They're like, if you want to break the contract, this is what you do. And I'm going to show it to you and show the whole thing to you step by step. And some of it might be complicated, but it's worth it. So that's another point. Okay. Point number 5. The primary barrier to doing anything in this course is either a lack of self-esteem or a lack of love for humanity. So basically, if you really don't like yourself and you can't stand up and you can't be honest with yourself and others, and you don't have some kind of love and compassion for the human race, this whole course and all the information in it's probably not going to be really all that helpful or useful for you, sadly. So you may require some self-discovery first before you get into this. If you go through this course and you find yourself just losing your mind, I recommend that you backpedal. Maybe don't do this course, or maybe just save the videos for later and focus on yourself. Read some books, do some self-healing, go into the forest, whatever it is you want to do, get some therapy, whatever it is you want to do to really do some soul searching, find out who you are. In my own opinion, the most powerful way that you can just blast yourself emotionally into the stratosphere is to have some kind of like really important, valuable goal in your life, like some kind of deep purpose. Like, what is it that you want to do with your life? Do you want to help certain types of people? Do you want to create some kind of thing? Do you want to do something with the world? What is it that you want to do in your life, and give yourself some big, huge fucking monster purpose? That's going to blast you into levels of living that you never even knew imagined. And it will give you the emotional bank account, to quote Dan Espena, the emotional bank account to be able to consume this information. If you do not have the emotional bank account to consume this information, it's okay. I fucking totally understand. Someone showed me this information like 2 years before I was willing to look at it, and it scared the absolute fucking shit out of me. So you know what? I get it. Like, if you say I'm just scared to death, I'm shitting myself, dude, trust me, I totally fucking understand. So if that's the case, do some soul searching, save the videos, come back to them later. I would expect very few people. I would be truly impressed if I met someone who was like, oh yeah, and they jumped into this right away, and it was like totally their thing, and they loved it, and they were like, oh, I'm going to do everything that Brandon's talking about here. That is a very, 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 very high level individual, very rare, very unique, very powerful. Hats off to you, man. Like, check it out. Hats off to you, because that is amazing, incredible, and rare. And like I said, it took me 2 years. I was in complete terror of this information. Then it was about 3 or 4 months of poking. And then it was about 3 or 4 months of like hardcore 2 to 7 hours a day studying and digging. And then now here where I sit right now, it was about 3 or 4 months of like hardcore action and like doing shit. So, 2.25, 2.5 years in before I even did a fucking thing. So that's really important to know. Don't beat yourself up. If you just literally want to just cry when you're watching these videos and you're going through this course, I totally get it. Okay. Doesn't mean I'm going to hold your dick unless you want to pay me tons of money, but I do understand. So I do want to say that. Okay. Next point. Getting close to the end of this video. Hope I'm boring the fuck out of you. This next part here. Okay. So we hear a lot about the Great Awakening. We hear a lot about, all this stuff, and there's all these things on the internet, and there's conspiracy theory and all this kind of stuff. So check this out. I'm actually going to do something here because I'm fucking real tired of the bullshit on this one. So if we go to thefreedictionary.com, okay, and we type in conspiracy. So the word conspiracy actually means an agreement to perform together an illegal, wrongful, or subversive act. Okay. So conspiracy, the definition actually means, a bunch of people or some people, somebody obviously, coming together to perform some sort of horrible or subversive act. Okay. And then the word theory comes from a set of statements or principles devised to explain a group of facts or phenomena, especially one that has been repeatedly tested, or is widely accepted. Let's see here. A set of theorems. An assumption. Here we go. This is good. I like this one. An assumption based on limited information or knowledge. Okay, perfect. So conspiracy. Let's go back to that one because this is so fucking important because I don't want to hear anybody's fucking bullshit. So we have an agreement to perform together an illegal, wrongful, or subversive act. And then we have theory, which is the one I think applies the best here, is number 6, an assumption based on limited information or knowledge. Okay. And then what I always do whenever I'm clearing up words is I also look at the derivation of the word. So we're going to go to etymonline.com. This is my favorite. I also use another one called Etymology Explorer, which is an app, which I recommend as well. So we're going to type in here conspiracy. So the word comes from mid-14th century, a plotting of evil, unlawful design. Now remember, unlawful. So like I said before, going against the law of God, which is human law. It's not statute. So unlawful design, a combination of persons for an evil purpose. Okay. That's good. I like that. That's, and then you have conspiracy theory. So a conspiracy theory is basically, some kind of theory. So it's some kind of like thing that's created using limited knowledge to make up some kind of thing where it's like, a bunch of people are plotting to do something horrible to us. Okay. So I stay away from conspiracy theories as much as possible. I don't like them. I don't want them. I don't have any interest in them. I'm sure a bunch of people who are conspiracy theory type people are going to come onto these videos and they're going to get involved with this whole thing. And that's fine. I don't really care. I don't feel bad about people who like conspiracy theory. I don't hate them. I just want to be clear from the beginning that this word is like a fucking political hit piece term. And it's like, oh, slap him with the label. And then as soon as you slap him with that label, he no longer has any validity in the world. It's like cancel culture bullshit. You know what it is? It's basically someone standing up and saying, I am a fucking worthless piece of shit. I can't view anything for myself. I can't listen to anything for myself. And honestly, I should go like impale myself on a fucking graveyard fence. That's what I hear when I hear that word. It's like anything that's uncomfortable for someone to listen to, they just kind of slap that label on and it's supposed to like give them relief. It's fucking pathetic. Oh, it's so fucking pathetic. So I want to be clear about that. If there is something that's sort of like a theory or whatnot, I'll try my best to kind of label it as such, but really we're going to stay away from conspiracy theories as much as possible. I'm going to tell you hardcore what's going on and then exactly what you can do about it to change it. Okay. So that is my plan. The Great Awakening is not going to come from a savior. It's not going to come from Trump. It's not going to come from anybody. Okay. I don't dislike Trump. I'm not like the biggest fan in the world. I just, when you go through this course, you're going to realize pretty much all the politics is bullshit. My plan is to get you out of these systems entirely and free you 100% to the point where you no longer have any connection or interest in any of this stuff. It's all just noise, and you'll see why and what you can do about it. Okay. So, the Great Awakening is an increase of collective awareness of humanity. Okay. So the Great Awakening that has occurred a lot during COVID and stuff like that is that people are waking up to the fact that something weird is going on in the world and things aren't what they thought they were. And the world isn't this like calm, solid place that they thought it was. And they're becoming more curious about things, etc. And that's kind of where this course dovetails into that beautifully. So the Great Awakening is collective awareness increasing. Okay. So by me releasing this course, I'm contributing to the Great Awakening. By you getting fucking pissed as fuck watching these videos, being so angry that you can't even like think, and there's like heat boiling through your veins, which is probably going to happen, which I understand. It's not contributing to the Great Awakening. Contributing to the Great Awakening is amnesty, forgiveness, and the education of your friends, family, and peers. So you can share these videos. You can explain things to people in your own way. Look, I'm going to explain this shit to you in a way that I understand it. I'm not the best person at all this shit. I just think that I have a really good skill set for being able to explain really fucking complicated things in a really simple way that you can understand it through like a sequential type breakdown. I'm very, very good at that. You'll see that during these videos. I'm very fucking good at it. So there are people that are way better than I am at all of this, have way more information than me at this, but I think I'm probably one of the most interesting and most clear ones to actually have explained some of this stuff. So there's a lot of people out there that are teaching this kind of stuff. You have people like David Straight. You have people like Anna von Reitz. You have people like David Robinson. David Robinson has a bunch of books. Some of these books weren't even written by him, which is kind of weird. I've already found 3 books by him that were not actually written by him that has his name on it. So just a word of warning. Love the guy. I just don't understand why he's not putting some of the information at the beginning of the books, describing and giving homage to the person who originally wrote the book. So keep in mind that is the situation. So, but he has done a huge gift for humanity by taking all of these books that were written by other people, but you can't get them anymore. Like it's fucking impossible. Like, for example, Cracking the Code, which he sells as a book. It's either Commercial Redemption or Hardcore Redemption in Law. Those two books were actually written by somebody else, but you like literally can't find the books anywhere. So it's cool. Like, thank you very much. But at the same time, it's like, dude, hey, the person who wrote the book, there should be at least a little cover page in there or something like explaining that. Same thing with Miracle on Main Street, which was written by F. Tupper Saucy. Can't get the book anymore. You can get used copies, but David E. Robinson has re-released the book with whatever. I don't remember there being any mention of F. Tupper Saucy in the entire thing. So kind of not cool, but also thank you at the same time. So I want to be clear about that. All these people, all these different people that you're going to find that's teaching this shit, Christopher Hauser, these guys are fucking all awesome. And like, sometimes they like fight each other or whatever, or there's like this whole battle of like, who's better and who's not. And it's like, fuck all that. Just ignore all that shit. Like, all these people are so dope and so amazing, and you're going to learn so much. And one of them will help you more than other ones, and you're going to connect more with another one, and then maybe you won't in a few years. Like, it's just like whatever. Like, just take it all in, take my shit, and turn around and explain it in your own way, and then you're going to become an educational source for other people. And that's how the Great Awakening is going to happen. The Great Awakening is going to happen from people who are getting educated, and then they're turning around and now educating others in their own way. When you educate other people in your own way, you're going to connect with people who enjoy your style of educating them and communicating to them. Okay. So the more different people we have teaching this stuff in all these different styles, the more people we're going to connect with. And if you would like to do that, I would strongly approve and strongly love for more and more people to take this material and to turn around and explain it in their own way to their own people, and create a base of people that they're going to be educating and working with, etc. That is so fucking cool. So that is the Great Awakening. That is my vision for the Great Awakening. It has nothing to do with Washington, D.C. It has nothing to do with the government. It has nothing to do with anything. It has to do with the education of people, and educating people in a way that's fun and engaging and like, wow, this is so cool, so fun, so informative, etc. Okay. So with that said, I'm really happy that you're here. I think you're going to love this course, and it's going to be probably one video per day for a series of days. It's normally how I do it. And get ready to have your fucking mind blown. All right. I'll see you at video 2.
Hi, we're Visible,